Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the North Shore Drive podcast. It is Tuesday morning, which means I'm Jason Mackey. Ray Fittipaldo is next to me. We have a lot to break down from the Steelers' 34-32 win over the Jets at MetLife Stadium. Ray and I were both there. Aaron Rodgers looked excellent. Offensive line, not so much. Defense, running game. We'll talk about all of that. Before we dive in, though, have a message from our friends with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. There's no better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than Pella, who can help you save money on energy costs year-round. Schedule a free in-home consultation with your local Pella Windows and Doors to find the right product for your home and budget. Give them a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss your project further. That's 866-593-1560 to get started planning your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. All right, Ray, where I wanted to start with this, though, is actually the quarterback. The offense was better. There's a lot of reasons for that. We can get into all of that. I'm curious whether this has changed your perception. It's changed mine a little bit about the fan sentiment, the ceiling with the Steelers, and how far, if Aaron Rodgers looks like he did on Sunday, how far can they go? What do you think?
Jason, I don't know what you're talking about. Pro Football Focus said he was like the 26th best quarterback in week one. He's terrible.
Oh, what is going on there, Ray? I saw that. I mean, I don't take it seriously to begin with, but that's really bad.
Yeah, fans should trust their eyes. Everyone should trust their eyes. Aaron Rodgers was excellent on Sunday. I thought Arthur Smith dialed it up really good for him. Yeah, he had a couple throws that were behind receivers early in that game, but on that last minute drive, I think they got the ball back with 3 minutes and change. Excuse me. He was 4 for 5 on that drive, and just did everything that you thought he was gonna do. The Jets, the 2 seasons with the Jets aside, that was the Aaron Rodgers we were used to seeing when he was with the Green Bay Packers. So I thought he got all his receivers involved. And in terms of what this might do to shift your thoughts or your goals for the Steelers in 2025, they got to get a lot of stuff fixed on defense and offense. But if we're strictly talking about the quarterback, Jason, if he can play like that,
yeah,
then I don't think like winning in the playoffs is a far-fetched idea. They got to get there. They got to fix everything that was wrong on Sunday. But if they can get there, that's the type of play that wins you football games in January. So
yeah, I mean,
that's where I am.
I'm with you, Ray. I mean, I'm not ignoring any of the stuff underneath it. I mean, all of it is important. But they've got the hardest part figured out. They've got the part that they've lacked. The way he was making some of those throws too, like I expected him to read defense as well, but like the different arm angles and how the ball was coming out, finding guys. I've liked the communication with Arthur Smith. That's neat to hear both those guys talk about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's changed my perception a little bit. I think it kind of raises the ceiling a little bit if you can get the defense figured out, if you can get the offensive line figured out, if you can get the running game figured out, obviously tied to the offensive line. Put a Twitter poll out last night. Just want to mention it briefly. I asked the question, are you curious how much Aaron Rodgers, I should say, I was curious. And, did Aaron Rodgers' game affect your thinking? 47% said yes, it did. 24% said no, it did not. And 29% said they need to see more. So we will see if that can continue. All right. So another sort of offshoot of that, Ray, the wide receiver situation and pass catchers and showing a little bit more of themselves. I don't expect Ben Skoranek to catch a touchdown every week, but I was impressed with that group, probably more so than I expected. I'm guessing it exceeded your expectations. And how sustainable do you think any of it is?
Yeah, the one thing that's not going to change from last season with Arthur Smith is the personnel groups. And you saw guys, sometimes 3 and 4 players running off, and then 3 or 4 players running onto the field, for different plays. So that's a staple of an Arthur Smith offense. So, yeah, you are going to have like guys like Ben Skoranek involved. Scotty Miller wasn't involved with this week, but Scotty Miller is going to be involved at some point. We didn't even see the number 3 receiver, Roman Wilson, get a target. He only had 10 snaps. So it's going to be different every week. But, yeah, just DK Metcalf was really good with the run after the catch. Calvin Austin getting open, making plays. a lot of questions about this group before Sunday. I think they took a step to quiet the critics a little bit. We of course have to see more, but yeah, for 1 week, I was really impressed with that group, and I think it's going to be a group where you're going to see different guys like Skoranek step up each week, and I think that's the fun part about this Arthur Smith offense.
Ray, I think I was most impressed with Calvin Austin. Like a couple of those catches, and just thinking back a little bit, I was writing my follow and watching some of these. I'm like, I didn't think he had it in him. Like, that was even better than I thought live. Like, watching it back, I'm talking about the combat catch that he made, and just, man, if that's the version of Calvin Austin they're getting, I'm good with it.
Yeah, and did you notice this? I mean, Arthur did a great job of scheming guys open, but the ball was on them, and there was like no hesitation with the throws.
Oh, no, it was
catch it. Yeah, catch it, get upfield. Everything was in rhythm, and I think when you're a receiver, you love that, right? You watch some other quarterbacks and they're holding it, and you're catching it, your feet aren't moving. I mean, everything was done with timing and rhythm on Sunday. We knew that was going to happen. You were at training camp like I was. Everything is going to be in rhythm, and if it's not there, Aaron's going to get rid of the ball, and they're going to move on to the next play. So that was really impressive. The tight ends too. The tight end usage with Jonnu Smith getting a few more snaps than Freiermuth, Darnell Washington playing a lot. That all ties into the receiver group too, the personnel groupings, the packages. I think we're going to see that all season too. The tight ends weren't involved a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
But I thought Pat Freiermuth had 2 key third down conversions, really got them going on that first drive when they were sputtering a little bit. So don't want to overlook those guys, but I think in future weeks you'll see more of them. I think combined they probably only had like 5 catches, maybe like 50 yards. I think you're going to see more out of that group as the season goes on.
I wanted to see more of Darnell Washington in the passing game, Ray. And I don't know if we get there. You're talking about, each week it's going to be different who's involved. I just want to see it. And I'm a little bit curious or concerned, like what they do with Broderick Jones at tackle. Like, do you have to bring Darnell in at this point to basically help out Broderick Jones? That's how I want to frame the next question, but it's also something just goes through my head. Like, I want to see him part of the passing game, but he might not be able to be a part of the passing game because they have to keep him there to make sure Aaron Rodgers isn't dead. So what did you think about Broderick Jones, and where do we go from here with him?
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that on Sunday. Maybe it would have messed with their game plan a little bit too much. Maybe they were just they felt like they were in sync and they were going to leave Broderick on an island no matter what. I think as that game went on, Jason, you did see Rodgers was rolling right a lot. He was rolling away from Broderick Jones, and that's how they got some of their big plays. So, Broderick wasn't counted on to protect for 5 and 7 step drops. He just wasn't able to do it early in the game. They got behind the change, and that's why some of those drives stalled out. So I think we're probably to the point where I think everyone knows it's probably going to happen. Like, they're probably going to make a move there at some point. I don't think the Steelers can do it after 1 week just because he's a first-round pick. I'm convinced. I don't know how you feel. If Broderick Jones didn't have 114 next to his name, I think they would have made this move a long time ago.
Now, what's the move, though, Ray? I mean, what can they do?
Well, I was having this conversation with Jerry Dulac at the airport yesterday, and he's kind of like you, but I was like, could Calvin Anderson really do worse? Like, could Andrus Peat do worse? Andrus Peat has like 100 and some NFL starts on his resume. Now, a lot of those are at guard, but he did play tackle early in his career. I'm just to the point now where, and I don't want to get too deep into like technical offensive line play, but if you watch, like I was watching some of the clips yesterday. Broderick Jones, what they should do with Broderick Jones, have him watch Troy Fautanu tape for like 8 hours a day. Troy Fautanu's footwork, his handwork. There was a few where, Fautanu struggled a little bit on Sunday, but by and large, his work in pass pro against the Jets was excellent. He's just a technician. He can move his feet. He knows how to use his hands. Like, Broderick Jones can't do any of that. Like, his hands are down by his waist when it's time to punch. And these guys just get their hands inside. They just push them into the lap of the quarterback. I mean, I've seen it before, but like, how can an offensive lineman have his hands at his hips in year 3? I just don't understand it. I mean, it's like simple O-line play 101 where you have your hands up ready to punch. And like I'm convinced it's never going to get better, but I don't think the Steelers are going to pull the trigger, in early September. I don't see them doing that. That question is going to be asked today at the press conference. You better believe it's going to be asked, but I would be shocked if Mike Tomlin says, we're going to have a competition or anything like that. I think they should. I just don't think we're going to be there after week 1.
That's extremely depressing to hear, Ray. I think
I've just seen too much of, like, it's one thing, like I've said this before. I was thinking about this last night, Jason. Broderick Jones is taller than Troy Fautano, like prototypical left tackle. That's why he's there. He's got these giant arms. He's got the length. And I've always said, and I'm going to correct myself now, I've always said he's a better athlete than Troy Fautano. He's not a better athlete. If you watch Troy Fautano's feet, that guy is a tremendous athlete. You watch Broderick Jones out there, he might be a good tester and can run and do all this and that. He doesn't look like a great athlete when he's trying to play left tackle. So that's where I am right now. I don't want to, critique him too bad after week 1, but it's the same stuff over and over again. You could look at week 1 last year, week 8, week 17 last year. It's all the same stuff. He just never, ever makes any corrections.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's concerning. It's going to affect other areas. If they have to keep, Darnell Washington next to him, it's going to affect how many people can be on the field. I don't like it. I don't know where you go. He's a first-round pick. They're not going to sit him down immediately, like you said, Ray. And I mean, maybe you have a better option on the roster. If Broderick Jones is not going to pass muster, I think the Steelers have some problems there with the 41-year-old quarterback. And all right, so we'll get into some other stuff. We'll let the offensive line talk go here for a bit. I want to talk about the running backs and the distribution of carries. We're also addressing or awaiting news on some injuries in the secondary. Want to talk about those a little bit in the second half of our podcast as well. So a very short break and back with Ray and I, giving you a little bit more on a North Shore Drive podcast Tuesday morning. All right, we are back. Very quick break. Want to get into the running back talk and a little bit about the defensive secondary in a second. First, though, I have a message from our friends at Goldberg, Persky, and White. If you were diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer, call your attorneys, your local attorneys at Goldberg, Persky, and White. For over 40 years, their firm has represented thousands of lung cancer and mesothelioma victims. Call 1-800-COMPLEX or visit GPW Law for a free consultation. All right, so Ray, Jaylen Warren was awarded a contract extension. I think we talked about this last week prior to week 1. He was not awarded as many carries as I thought Jaylen Warren was going to get. I was a little surprised that Kenneth Gainwell was used earlier and used a lot, not more often than Jaylen Warren, but he was certainly a significant part of the game plan. Do you think that's going to stick, or was that just a week 1 thing to maybe put some stuff on tape, make other teams think? I can't imagine Kenneth Gainwell is going to have this much of a share and Jaylen Warren is not going forward.
Yeah, I think the number was 30 for Gainwell, 25 snaps for Warren. I might be a little bit off on that, but I warned people about this. And you should have seen my Twitter notifications yesterday.
Probably calling you crazy.
Yeah, like I tweeted out the snap counts, and they were like, why is Kenneth Gainwell playing more than Jaylen Warren? And I tried to tell people, if you were at training camp and you watched them practice, you knew this was coming. They like him. He could pass protect. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. He's very similar to Jaylen Warren in a lot of ways. So I wasn't shocked by it, but still 30 snaps for him compared to 25. I thought maybe, it would have been like maybe, 35 for Warren, 20 for Gainwell, 25 for Gainwell, something like that. But yeah, I mean, this is where we are right now. Caleb Johnson isn't ready to play. So I think you're going to see a healthy dose of both Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren. And I don't know about week to week if it's going to be that way, but Kenneth Gainwell isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Steelers' next game, by the way, you probably know this, not you, Ray. I'm talking about people listening or watching, against the Seahawks Sunday, 1 o'clock, Acrisure Stadium. Looking forward to it. The Steelers are a 2.5-point favorite, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook. The over-under set at 40.5 points. I'm taking the over on that, by the way. I was a little surprised to see that low. FanDuel.sportsbook.com if you want to check out more about that. Ray, my contention, my pushback on that would be, you just extended Jaylen Warren. You just gave him a sum of money. I understand training camp. I understand what Kenneth Gainwell does well. Like, you just found it necessary to pay this guy. Use him. I don't know. I understand that it's early in the season. They're going to try different things. Maybe they want to get Gainwell established. Absolutely agree with what you're saying through training camp, and it's not to diminish Kenneth Gainwell at all. I just don't understand why you pay a guy a decent amount of money in running back land, and then you're kind of not taking advantage of him. And then this is the last point I'll make, and then I want to contradict myself by saying I actually liked how the Steelers didn't keep trying the running game. It was not working, so they threw it. And I like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Jaylen Warren is the better runner. Like with Gainwell, I think, especially with this offensive line, like Kenneth Gainwell needs some creases, and I don't know how many creases he's going to get with this line until they start playing better. Warren, at least he's got a little bit of power to his game. Like, he's like this little bowling ball. He can generate some yards after contact. So in that way, maybe Warren should have gotten a few more rushes. But in the end, when you look at it, I think you're right. Like, when you have Aaron Rodgers playing the way he was on Sunday, you want to establish the run, but you want to do it after you have a lead. And they didn't get a lead in that game until, in the second half, at least, until the very end of the game. So I was fine with their game plan. Ride the hot hand, do what you got to do to win the game. But I was talking to Chris Carter yesterday on the North Shore podcast, and that's not a formula that's going to work every single week. Like, you got to be able to stop the run. You got to be able to run the ball. And
no doubt,
I don't think you can count on a 41-year-old quarterback to throw 4 touchdowns every week like he did.
No, I mean, the defense has to be better. The offensive line has to be better. They're running. I feel like we're stating obvious stuff there. The left tackle has to be a heck of a lot better. I was frankly shocked that they struggled so much stopping the run, Ray. I mean, Justin Fields was a good quarterback, but, he and Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, they ain't that good. There's a lot of tightening up to do up front. Yeah,
I think this is going to be a topic this week. Cam Hayward didn't play well. He didn't practice a lot, so maybe that's part of it. Although, Cam's game should translate whether he practices or not. The concerning thing about watching him was he just wasn't able to get off blocks.
Yeah.
And normally the bull rush is a big part of Cam's game. He got a little bit of movement on his bull rushes, but he never really affected, the rush. He wasn't really close to the passer at all. I'm a little bit concerned about what I saw there, but it is week 1. The more concerning thing for me is Keanu Benton's play. And
that was a rough one.
Yeah, listen, like Carl Dunbar, like when they drafted Y.A. Black in the 5th round, 6'6", 340, everyone in that room among the reporters kind of thought, okay, this is your nose tackle. Keanu Benton's going to bump out, play 3 technique. Carl Dunbar said that night, no, we're going to play Y.A. over. He calls him a 4-eye technique, which basically he's going to play over guards and tackles, play over tackles mostly. And they kind of stuck to that. Y.A. can play inside. I think he certainly did that at Iowa. But I'm starting to wonder, like, this is going back to last season. They couldn't stop the run late last season in that 5-game losing streak. It wasn't any better now. So at what point do we see Y.A. Black maybe get some play at nose tackle and then Keanu Benton? You're not going to bench him, but I think you just have to find a better way to utilize his talents. He just doesn't hold up well against double teams. He's not a big guy. Y.A. Black is twice as big. We know he commands double teams. So if you're looking for a solution to the run game, for me, the easy thing would just be to take a look at that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's 100% going to work, but I think a lot of people thought that was going to happen in the spring, and they really haven't gone to it yet.
Here's when it happens, Ray. Halftime of the Seahawks game if they can't stop the Seahawks running game.
Yeah.
You're going to start adjusting something. I don't know. Somebody's going to be in some new spots.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks didn't run well against the 49ers, but they're kind of known for, like, Kenneth Walker's a good back. He's like I would say he's like top half of the league in terms of, the way people view him around the league. He's
they
not
weren't productive last year, though, man.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
So, they weren't good in week 1 against the 49ers, but if the Steelers can't do any better than that, we're going to be sitting here next week talking about Kenneth Walker and the Seahawks going for $150 on the Steelers.
All right, last topic I wanted to get into, Ray. We'll be quick with it to move it along, but some injuries in the secondary came up in the Jets game. You got DeShon Elliott with the knee. Joey Porter Jr. sat pretty decent chunk of the game with a hamstring injury. Are we concerned at all about those guys' availability for Sunday? I know Mike Tomlin's going to talk later today, probably give us a little bit more. I don't know about you. Me, I'm a little bit more optimistic on Joey Porter Jr. playing, less optimistic on DeShon Elliott, and I'm a little unsure what happens in the secondary. I mean, maybe it's just a heavier dose of Juan Thornhill alongside Jalen Ramsey. Don't know. Maybe we see more Brandon Echols. What do you see?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because Thornhill is basically a free safety. I don't know if his game really translates to being a strong safety. So probably more Chuck Clark than Thornhill. Soft tissue injuries concern me though. Like they said, like the read I got from Tomlin was they got him out of there before it got really bad, like with Joey. So maybe that's a positive, but do you really want to run him out there? If the hamstring is compromised at all. So I'm sure he'll be questionable to start the week. The Elliott thing was, in the locker room, he indicated it wasn't too serious, but obviously it was serious enough for him to be ruled out pretty quickly in that game. So that's a big blow to the Steelers defense, one of their top tacklers, kind of the quarterback of the defense, so to speak. I mean, they signed him to a nice contract. They got a lot of confidence in that guy. So yeah, I think that's definitely a concern going into week 2. I'm not sure either of those guys are going to play, but I think the one thing that's good, and we talked about this in the summer, when I got Brandon Echols, Brandon Echols talked up by the coaches a lot this summer. So I think they'll be fine there in the short term. And we'll see about Chuck Clark. We'll see about Juan Thornhill. They're going to get more exposure. They're going to get more plays. They're going to have to step up until DeShon Elliott is able to get back.
I will say this, Ray, in the history of covering professional athletes, if they're hurt and they talk about an injury after the game, it's never a big deal. I hope DeShon Elliott's fine. I don't trust anything a professional athlete ever says immediately after an injury because they don't know. But yeah, we'll find out. They need the secondary. I was really impressed with Jalen Ramsey, by the way, just to put a bow on it. The hit at the end, the intensity, all that stuff. I feel like that's everything the Steelers wanted out of him.
Yeah, and if you just think back to last year, Fields steps up there, creates some space for himself. Like last year or against other teams, maybe receiver runs open, he gets yards after the catch. Very disciplined. Ramsey's sitting there in the flat where he's supposed to be, comes up and makes the big hit. I mean, that was impressive stuff, and he definitely closed out that game.
I love it. All right, that does it for us. Hopefully you enjoyed this. We'll be back next Tuesday with more Steelers talk. Make sure you like and subscribe. You can get all of this from our other Post-Gazette North Shore Drive podcast and YouTube networks. For Ray Fittipaldo, I'm Jason Mackey. Talk to you all next week.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.